welcome back for another old plus new video tutorial. For the month of June, we are featuring flipping fantastic or splashing techniques. Use the hashtag that I have on the screen on YouTube or in your Instagram app to find all of the projects that have been created using this prompt. This month I am featuring products from Scrappy Tails Crafts as well as Pink Fresh Studio. I'm going to jump right in. As I shared last month, I am using my Misti to place my layering stencils. This stencil is called the Slimline Stars Building Layering Stencil from Pink Fresh Studio. I'm going to be adding two colors to this stencil. I thought that I would go with kind of a teal green and the more peachy tones of pink for my project today. I'm using some Stampin' Up! Ink, and I started with Pool Party, which was my lightest of those blues, and then I'm adding Blushing Bride. I'll remove this stencil once I get all of the ink in place, and then because I have used my Misti to align my stencil in that upper right hand corner, I'll simply remove this layer and then I'm going to align the second layer right on top, and I'm going to get perfect alignment. So this is an easy way, if you have layering stencils, to add them in your Misti, and it just really helps for quick alignment. The next colors that I added were Coastal Cabana, that was the blue, and then for the peachy pinks I added Flirty Flamingo. I'll finish off my stenciling using Strawberry Slush, and then I'll clean off my stencil because I went with the red first for whatever reason, and obviously it's going to contaminate any of that turquoise that I add over top, so I needed to clean that off first, and then I'll add the Coastal Cabana, and that will complete my slimline. I do end up cutting down this panel to 8.5 or 8.25 by 3.25 inches. You can see that I do have a border, and that just helps me make sure that I get that full stencil onto that panel. Onto my flamingo. This is a beautiful flamingo. It's called Flamingo Pear from Scrappy Tails Crafts. There are two flamingos that come in this die set, each facing in the opposite direction, so you can make them kiss if you wanted to. It's a substantial size. It would fit perfectly on an A2 size card, but it also will fit on obviously a slimline and a 5x7 card. And I just think that Sabrina over at Scrappy Tails Crafts does just a fantastic job with the products that she creates. I'll have everything that I've used linked in the description box below. Here I'm showing you how easy this flamingo comes together. I started with the Blushing Bride from Stampin' Up, and then I'm adding a high contrast. I wanted the high contrast flamingo, so I went with the Strawberry Slush on the legs, the wings, and then of course in the areas where it's going to highlight the neck. I wanted to fluff these wings up, and in order to do so, I've cut a small piece of foam tape, and I'm adding it in areas that are not going to impede the die cut fluff in these wings. So you can see that there are some areas of the wings that are cut out, which allows you to lift them and fluff those wings. So here I'm adding it. It's very easy to adhere all of the pieces or align all of the pieces because they are marked on the flamingo, as you can see. I did make sure that I added glue to the bottom of the wing and the top. So now because I have that foam tape in there, I have that nice arch, and then of course I fluffed my wings once I put them on. I added the legs, and now we're going to add the wing on the side right here, and again I'm adding that piece of foam tape, making sure not to impede any of those die cut areas that have been put in there. I curve the wings so that I'm getting that dimension, and then I'm going to place it onto the flamingo. For the neck, now this piece technically, if you look at the Scrappy Tails website and the samples, it goes around the edge of the flamingo's neck, so on the very outer edge, but I really wanted to add it more towards the center, so you can place it where you like. This is just where I wanted to put it because I thought that it just kind of added a little bit more dimension to that neck. All of the products that I'm using will be linked in the description box below. I did want to mention that all of these products are new to me. So this is the new portion of my video. The Flamingo, I have several different products that I've purchased from Scrappy Tails that I'll be bringing to you on my channel. I will also be doing one video a month for the Scrappy Tails design team, so I'm super excited about that addition to my channel. This is the nested stars die from Pink Fresh Studio. I am adding the Bermuda Bay around the edges to give it a little bit more dimension. These Pink Fresh Studio dies are fantastic. So I didn't have any stars in my stash, which is what drew me to them, but I also ended up purchasing the hot foiling, and so that combination is going to be terrific for future projects. Here is a look at the splashing technique. This time I've added the Coastal Cabana to my mat, and I'm using some water to do some ink splattering over my panel. You know, if you've watched my videos, that I absolutely love ink splattering, so I thought that that was the perfect technique for my card today. I wanted to add a little bit more detail to the star. I didn't want it to get lost in the background since I already have that stenciling, so I'm using a new Scrappy Tails stencil. It is called the Chevron stencil, and I used that same Bermuda Bay to add that detail to the stars. For the smaller stars, I went in with Coastal Cabana, and I'm going to add that around the edge of the green star. And then for the coral colored star, I ended up using that Strawberry Slush. I stuck with the Strawberry Slush because I really liked the high contrast. I'm going to create several of these. I'll put one on top of the other. Again, this is part of the Nested Stars die set from Pink Fresh Studio. I'm going to finish off my Flamingo. I colored the bill with Strawberry Slush again, and then for the black part that's going to go over the end, I did end up using my black gel pen. I wanted a little bit of that gloss, and so I added that black gel pen, and I'm going to add that shortly. Here I'm adding the eyes. I went with the white for the outside of the eye, and then of course I used my gel pen again just for the little dot. All of the details are included in this die set, which makes it so dimensional and so fantastic. So here I'm just going to add that little center. There's a white center, and then I'll add the black center, and then at the very end of my card I'll complete the bill. I don't know why I didn't do it all at once. I just kind of went here and there. I don't know how you craft, but for me it's like squirrel. I go from one thing to the other. Here is a panel that has been cut to 8.5, or it's an 1/8 inch smaller than 8.5 by 3.5 inches. I wanted an 1/8 inch border. Again, I used that Strawberry Slush to go around the edges of this cardstock to give it a little bit more of a pop. I'm going to add some water splashes over that to give it a little bit of texture when you're looking at it, and then of course I set it aside to dry. My finished card panel is going to be 8.5 by 3.5 inches. It is a side folding slimline card, and you can see that I'm aligning it, allowing that tiny border around the edges, and then I'm going to add some foam tape to the back of this panel because I do want a little dimension there. I had this ribbon from Stampin' Up, and I thought that it would be a great way to break up the star that I have that I'm going to use as my spotlight piece for this card. And then you see I barely attached it with a piece of foam tape. That was just some scrap foam tape that was on my desk, but I'm going to really adhere it down using that foam tape. I'll remove the release paper and add it to the back of my card. And I really love just that little bit of a border using that strawberry slush on that cardstock. For my star, I'm going to glue it. I'm not going to add any more dimension to the card, so I will glue it down towards the center of the card, and then I'm going to adhere my flamingo. And again, I'm making sure not to cover any of those areas where that die cut has cut those feathers, because I want to make sure that I'm able to get that curve and that fluff, and it's not impeded by the glue. Here's where I'm going to add that gel pen tip to the bill, and then we're going to work on our sentiment. I should mention that I did adhere those smaller stars off camera. I glued them directly to the card panel. For my sentiment, I will have the stamp linked in the description box below. It's part of a great stamp set from Scrappy Tails. The sentiment reads, "I'll stand by you." And I'm going to use some acetate to make sure that I get this straight. Unfortunately, the acetate ends up clinging to my stamp because I didn't use my magnet there, but I'm able to see that it is straight. I'll use that strawberry slush ink to add the sentiment, and then I'll finish my card off camera using my white gel pen, just adding some accents to make the flamingo pop even more. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love for you to give it a big thumbs up. Let me know what you think of my card. I really love interacting with you and reading your comments. Until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day. Thanks so much for watching.